Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Maximonius. And just when you least expect it, I'm back.
やってみせろ.
Like a bolt of lightning. Like a really fast, unexpected thing. Like a mother-in-law or a chancla. John's back. John, you good?
Yeah.
Well, let's get pursuity then. Biggy, Smollett back in the news. Judge to appoint a special prosecutor to investigate Jussie Smollett case.
Wow.
I know, right? Wow. It's like I didn't see this one coming, even though I called it. Hollywood actor Jussie Smollett is not going to walk away scot-free just yet from his case after a Cook County judge ordered Friday the appointment of a special prosecutor. Smollett allegedly staged a hate crime against himself and recorded the entire event as evidence. The two men he hired to stage the attack are suing Smollett's legal team, saying they were paid by the now-fired Empire actor. This evidence suggests the entire event was a hoax, yet all the charges were dropped against Smollett by State Attorney Kim Foxx. Even Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel called it a whitewash of justice, and that is saying something right there. There was no master on the bridge to guide the ship as it floundered through uncharted waters, and it ultimately lost its bearings, said Judge Michael Tuman Friday. All right, look, I don't know about master on the bridge or flounder or whatever. Biggy Smollett, some months back, paid a couple of white supremacists from Nigeria to beat him up. And he recorded it, which means he recorded his own evidence. And they were saying, this is MAGA country, because that's what white supremacists from Nigeria are wont to do. And he got caught. And instead of getting prosecuted, he was just like, well, hey, my bad.
I will never be the man that this did not happen to.
I don't even know what that means. We're on the Chicago Sun-Times. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx's decision to step aside from the Jussie Smollett case and hand off her duties to her top deputy, landing her a stinging rebuke from a judge Friday. And a stinging rebuke. That's much worse than like the dull, aching rebuke in a special prosecutor investigation. And a former top aide said the recusal decision was Foxx's alone, contradicting Foxx's most recent public statement on the matter. Okay, so Foxx's aide is distancing herself too, which means this is getting good. And now, if you'll remember, there was a lot of people really upset about this case. And I'm going to puff my chest up again one more time, ladies and gentlemen, because Mystic Mac over here, I told you back then, this was going to come back in the news, and here we are. Judge Michael Tuman on Friday ruled that a special prosecutor should further investigate the Smollett case, raising the possibility that Smollett could be recharged. Yeah, he's looking at like 16 felony charges. I'm not so sure that he'll get them all, but he's looking at them. The special prosecutor will also look at how Foxx and her office handled the decision to drop charges against the Empire actor. And if you'll remember, there were some text messages that were going around. And here they are right here to Kim Foxx. This is from Tina Chen. And if you're not familiar with Tina Chen, she was an assistant to Barack Obama back when he was in the White House doing whatever he was doing in there. And she was actually chief of staff to Barack Obama's other half over there at the White House. Yeah, chief of staff. And this is her message. Hi, Kim. I sent an email to your work address, I think, as well. I wanted to give you a call on behalf of Jussie Smollett and family who I know. They have concerns about the investigation. I'm on an 8 a.m. flight to New York City, but please call me before then. I land about 10:15 Chicago time. My cell is redacted. Many thanks. And as you can see, we're not going to break into this real big, but this was from Tina Chen. So obviously the Smollett family had some connections in high places, and so did Kim Foxx. All right, so look, all this yakety smackety is basically saying we're going to have ourselves a do-over. They're going to look into this. They're going to look into Foxx. They didn't like the fact that you basically had law enforcement enforcement and the representation talking to each other. Well, that's a big no-no, and that's going to bust this whole thing wide open. And the reason why this is important is because although maybe you and I don't really follow Hollywood actors that much, there are a lot of people that really still do. And they were prepared to kind of write this off. Now, he got clowned in the media about this, but it really wasn't a very, very big deal. And the important thing about this is that this guy was essentially trying to ignite a race war. It was a really big deal. But the thing that I want to point out is down here. The Chicago Sun-Times was unable to reach Smollett's attorneys. So they ended up talking to this guy, Northwestern University Law School professor Locke Bowman, who successfully petitioned for the appointment of a special prosecutor to investigate allegations of torture by former CPD Commander John Burge. So now we're turning it around. Said he was surprised to see Smollett's case go into the books alongside other historic cases where an independent prosecutor was appointed. Now I just want to point out, I don't know this Locke Bowman very well, but he's a graduate of Northwestern University Law School. And if you watched my video, The Weatherman, that I just finished, I worked all week on it last week, you'll note that I was talking about a lot of people that were related to the Northwestern University Law School. Just saying. And then they bring him up, and he was, of course, talking about Commander John Burge. So it says here, Bowman said he would not be surprised to see Smollett charged again, but based on information that's been made public, he doubts Fox or her staff committed any wrongdoing that would rise to the level of crime or even a sanction. Okay, well, one peek at those text messages that I just showed you suggested otherwise, right? All right. One more important thing that I want to point out. This lady, Tina Chen, she was not only an assistant to Obama and a chief of staff to Michelle Obama, but she was also a graduate from the Northwestern University Law School. All right, for this next story, we are over here on CNN, but only because it's funnier over here. CNN Politics. Oregon GOP state senators again failed to show up for legislative session and climate bill protest.
Wow, bro.
The Oregon State Senate quickly adjourned Sunday because the Republican senators who staged a walkout last week over a climate bill didn't show up to the session, according to state legislature's website. Senate President Peter Courtney, a Democrat, adjourned the session without a quorum until Monday at 10 a.m. PTD after the state's 11 GOP senators failed to appear, CNN reports. Again, I asked the senators that are not here to please, if you would come to the building, and we have budgets we need to pass that are for all of Oregon, Courtney said before adjourning. The Republicans walked out of a session on Thursday over disagreements on HB 2020, a cap-and-trade climate bill that had passed the state house on Monday. Then they failed to appear later Thursday for floor proceedings. Their absence left the legislative body 2 senators short of a quorum, blocking the chamber's proceedings. So they're 2 senators short of a quorum. And nobody wants to be short of a quorum. That's a quori. Oregon State Senate Republicans said in statement Thursday that they decided to stage a walkout and leave the state to protest cap and trade because it should be referred to the ballot so every Oregonian has a voice. At least some of the senators have left the state, according to a statement from the Oregon State Republicans. Peggy Boquist, wife of Oregon's GOP Senator Brian Boquist, told CNN the senators are in Idaho. So these guys booked it out of there. They didn't want to vote for this bill because it was probably just a bunch of green knuckleheadedry, and they skipped out of the state. Well, Governor Kate Brown wasn't happy because she authorized state police on Thursday to locate Senate Republicans and bring them back to the state capitol. And I've got live footage of that right here. KOIN reported the missing Republicans would begin to be fined $500 a day if they hadn't returned by 11 a.m. on Friday. Brian Boquist was defiant in response to Brown's initial warning to lawmakers, telling TV station KGW, send bachelors and come heavily armed. I'm not going to be a political prisoner in the state of Oregon. It's just that simple. All right, well, I got to tell you, I love everything about this story. This is fantastic. These senators hated this bill so much that they just skipped town and left to Idaho. Now, I've never been to Idaho, but I would assume if you want to get away from things, You go to Idaho. It says on Saturday, the Oregon State Senate canceled its session after state police deemed the safety of lawmakers was threatened. KOIN reported the cancellation came after militia groups, translation conservative groups, gathered at the state capitol raising concerns for safety. Okay, well, that's not cool at all, of course. Nobody wants to get hurt. These guys ran off to Idaho, and they sent the police after them. I love it. I love everything about this. This is giving Democrats a taste of their own medicine. You want to propose some commie legislation, then we're just going to go ahead and walk out and play you at your own game. Now, I do have to say that overall, it's kind of a sad state of affairs that we're in when we have to play politics this way. We can't work or reach across the aisle to make something work. But this is where we're at right now. And so I have to say, kudos to these guys. If you've got any local news on this, I would love to know if there's anything that maybe the rest of the media hasn't been covering. I would love to know what's up with these guys. But hopefully they will be safe. Come on back. I have a feeling that everything's probably going to be just fine. But that's a fantastic story. And let me leave you with this heartwarming news from the Gateway Pundit. Devin Nunes, court date for $250 million lawsuit against Twitter for censoring conservatives is set for end of August.
That's crazy. That's so love, bro.
And at the beginning of this article, it actually talks about a different topic here. During their discussion, Representative Nunes told Maria the FBI was hiding documents from Congress for 2.5 years. Nunes believes U.S. Attorney John Durham will eventually find out who in the FBI was hiding these documents from Congress. I got some video of that too. I don't know. The documents will prove the Obama Department of Justice knew the Steele dossier was a fraud when they used it to spy on the Trump campaign in early 2016. Okay, so essentially everything we've been talking about for the last 2 years. But let's talk about this. A 2018 study by the leftist website Vice News found that Twitter is censoring top pro-Trump lawmakers. You don't say. Twitter is targeting pro-Trump Republican lawmakers Matt Gaetz, Devin Nunes, Mark Meadows, Jaggedless Jim Jordan, and John Ratcliffe with the same shadow banning technique. Twitter was and is also censoring prominent pro-Trump accounts, including Mike Cernovich, Jack Posobiec, Paul Joseph Watson, TGP's Jim Hoft, Cassandra Fairbanks, writer Lucian Wintridge, and Christina Layla and Laura Loomer, and internet legend Sir Patrick Mack of In Pursuit of Truth. Nope, it's not on there. But we got some video. Let's check it out.
Oh, it's a montage, because we ain't trying to watch the whole dang thing now.
You have sued Twitter as well as McClatchy. Tell us about that.
Well, the Twitter one is important. We start the discovery process tomorrow, so we will be sending out a bunch of subpoenas and asking for information from all the folks that were involved in allowing Twitter to not only develop content, but also shadow ban me so your viewers and Americans couldn't see my tweets for a period of time. We don't even know how long. So I'm very worried about this for the next election, whether, I call the tech oligarchs, whether it's Twitter or Google or Facebook. It always seems like most of the time it's the conservatives that get kicked off and you can't see our platforms, or you can't see us on their platforms, where the left, they get away with murder. And so that's this discovery process on Twitter starts tomorrow. And then, of course, we have more lawsuits that are on the way. And I hate to be having to do this, but it's really the only way that this problem can be fixed, because if we don't, conservatives, I think, are going to be doomed in future elections, because all of these tech companies are against us. And I think Republicans and conservatives across the country need to understand this, and they need to take action now. And the only remedy we have is the court.
Are you concerned that Twitter will try to influence the election in 2020 by doing whatever they can, like shadow banning, et cetera? And
Maria, they're already doing it.
Yeah.
They're already doing it. I mean, it's clear what they've done to me is ridiculous. What they continue to do to others. I mean, you see people getting kicked off of Twitter for nothing. You see the same thing happening at Facebook. You see, 90+% of all the searches go through Google. We know that Google's been actually blocking emails from going out. So, look, there's going to be a number of lawsuits.
Is that illegal? Is it illegal, Congressman?
Well, it depends on if you can prove it in court, right? So it takes people that are willing to step up and take these companies on, which I'm willing to do, not because I want to do it, but because it has to be done, because in the long run, we can't compete if social media is totally against the conservatives in the Republican Party.
Because they say they're not media companies. Do you want to see legislation that puts them under the umbrella of media companies?
Look, I think the courts, I mean, what we're saying is that Twitter and these companies, they're content developers. They claim to be, we're just an open public square. We treat everybody equally. Well, they don't treat everybody equally. It's not even close. And so what I want is I want my day in court to go before a judge and a jury to explain how it is that Twitter treats conservatives differently than the left.
So there you have it, and we've known for a while that this was coming, but now it looks like we have a date, and I most certainly will be watching this with great interest and, of course, sharing my findings with you. This has obviously a lot of interest for myself as a content creator who is constantly getting my numbers manipulated, shadow banned, dealing with long uploads, and even fairly recently what seems like veiled threats by YouTube. So like I said, as a content creator, this means everything to me, and please understand, I get a lot of people saying, Patrick, don't worry so much about your numbers, blah, 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 blah. Well, I am going to worry about my numbers because this is a full-time job, and although I'm not going to lose sleep over it, I am going to worry about it. I wouldn't walk up to a restaurant owner and say, hey, man, I'm going to grab 100 of your customers, but don't worry about those numbers. Yeah. Exactly. So it's important. It's important for all of us, and it's important. I know that a lot of people have talked about migrating to other platforms, and I most certainly am not against that. I do think that this is probably going to transition into something new, and one of these platforms, whether it's already out or if it has yet to be developed, will probably kind of rise to the top and overtake it. I have a feeling that YouTube will crush under its own weight. Not yet sure what to think about Facebook. I think Twitter very well is also is in trouble, and hopefully this, at the very least, this case will bring some much needed attention to this, because it's one thing for us to retreat into our own little echo chamber, but we've really achieved nothing there. And I like to stay fairly libertarian in these ideals, and the fact that I understand if somebody wants to create a platform and say that so and so is not allowed, then that's perfectly fine. But the fact of the matter is that these people are now buying up content. For instance, we've got Facebook now buying up content. As a matter of fact, I think they're going to try and take over Netflix. I think that's going to be sort of their new route. Not really sure, but if that's the case, then they are a content provider, and the rules tend to change a little bit. So, having said all that, I've yet to form my opinions completely, but I would love to know what you guys think. If you were put in charge of all this right now and you had a big orange button that was going to fix it all, how would you do it? How would you lay it out? What would you do? Would you regulate these platforms? Would you be interested in having the government regulate this stuff? Because it starts to get into kind of interesting ground there at that point, right? But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are down below. I will pin a comment down below. It'll be the top comment. As you scroll through the comments, it'll be the very top one, and you can put your answer there. I'd love to know what you think, but that's all I got for you today. It's great to be back. It's great to have you back, and if you have not seen my video, The Weatherman, please go check it out. I put a lot of time into it, and for those of you who've been asking where I've been, please go check out The Weatherman. All my links are down below. My Gab, my BitChute, my Real.video. For those of you who've been checking on Real.video, the site is down. Not my page, but the site is down, and they're in litigation right now. I'm still struggling with Gab, but still trying to work it out. BitChute is working. I'm also over here on Twitter at IPOT1776. That's IPOT1776, where much of this goes down. I'm also on DropSpace now, too, and that link is down below. My email is down below if you'd like to send some information. And if you'd like to send me something old school, my P.O. box is down below. And if you'd like to support this channel, my Patreon link is down below. All those links are down below in the video description. All right, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mack. And until next time, stay focused.